Is everybody in? Is everybody in? The show is about to begin.
Welcome to the podcast, concerts that made us, interviews and stories, tales from the bus. We love taking you back to when it all went down. The greatest live shows and that cheering crowd sound. It's concerts that made us, concertsthatmadeus.com.
Ryan and Greg, you're very welcome to Concerts That Made Us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for having us, man.
It's great to have you guys. Now, last month On Display release Stuck. It's an exploration of love and self-awareness. What more can you tell us about the track?
Yeah, I think it's definitely from a personal point of view. I was going through some times in a relationship where I felt, I was burdening somebody by discussing my problems, and if I had to say to them, listen, this is bugging me at the moment, it would make me feel like I'm putting them out, and sometimes it gets like that. I think in a relationship, if you're with someone that you're not meant to be with, they can kind of take away that freedom from you, that you feel like you can't say what you need to say, and it's not healthy. So that's kind of the point of view I wrote the lyrics from. But it was one of the first tracks we started, hey Greg?
Yeah, it was probably one of our first ones that we did together when we joined up. And I mean, I took a lot from that song. It was not only just a song that helped Ryan and I sort of find our style and where we wanted to go with our music and our shared interests, but even the lyrics itself, I know Ryan explained it now sort of in a relationship point of view, but I've taken so much from that song in relation to life itself, and being in positions where you're stuck, positions you sort of forced to be into, get things done and pay the bills and that kind of thing. So I draw a lot of reference from that song in everyday life. So I think it was quite a special one for us to release that first.
I have to ask, when you're putting, so much of yourself in a song like that, and it's obviously from experiences you've had, are you worried about blowback from people or people that might think, oh, that song is about me?
I think, look, the people that know me, they probably know that I've been in that situation quite a bit. So that's it's a learning curve,
No, don't drop any names now.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. But I mean, as far as do you mean specifically blowback from people maybe that don't know us, or?
Yeah.
I think I kind of, I like that it's interpretive. So like what Greg says is, you can, it might not be necessarily a relationship. It can be any kind of dimension. So I like that about it as well. I try to write in that sort of way as well, where it can be interpreted in many different ways. But yeah, if it helps someone in a relationship get out of a situation, I'll be happy.
Yeah. And I think also, I mean, you're always going to get blowback. I mean, we're writing messages that we feel and we're putting out there. And I think you're always going to get blowback from somebody who's going to say, oh, this is too dark, this is too heavy, I think people are always going to have blowback at some point. But, the message is there. Take from it what you want and where it fits with you in your life. And, hopefully it can make a difference for you. You know what I mean? I think that's kind of where we're at.
It's quite interesting actually that you asked that, because we do kind of think about how people will perceive us, and at the same time you got to kind of not give a shit what people think and how they perceive you. But I mean, for instance, our band name was Calm the Demon when we first started. Right. We thought about Calm the Demon, but then we were like, it sounds a little dark, and we want to, like, if you look at, like, for an example, like Bring Me the Horizon, they've got this dark, heavy music, but Bring Me the Horizon is such a positive message. So I think we spent like 4 or 5 months trying to come up with a better name. And we were just about to say, screw it, let's let's go with Calm the Demon. And then we figured on Display, which is a little bit more brighter. And so it's a balance, I guess, giving a shit and not giving a shit.
Right. And how do you guys approach the recording process then?
So we, do you want to take it, Greg?
No, it's fine. Go for it, man.
So I've built a studio at my house. It was, I bought a 3-bedroom house, and it's been converted into a 1-bedroom house now. And so we've got a full drum setup here. We prefer live drums. I know a lot of people are doing a lot of processed or sort of MIDI drums, which sound great, but we really like that live, authentic feel. And then we've got like a nice control room here with some cool plugins and things. So the main, I think the way we do it is we come up with a song first at Greg's place. Greg's actually sitting in the studio he built for us there, which is very cool.
I'm sitting in our jam room.
In our jam room. So it starts over there, like for instance with Stuck. I mean, that just started as a guitar riff, and then Greg was like, "Oh, that's cool." Jammed a little bit of a beat, and then it all came from there. And then once we kind of perfected it there, we do like some demo recordings at the studio here. And it's just backwards and forwards and working on the lyrics and making sure the song is exciting from beginning till end.
And a lot of late nights.
Yeah, plenty. And then we kind of, we don't, we send it away. We send it overseas. So for instance, Stuck was sent to Justin from Sixth. He mixed and mastered that for us, and then we were super happy with the sound.
I was just going to ask, how did you manage to get Justin on the track? Did you know him? Was it a long process?
Funnily enough, I used to play in a band with my brother. So I just want to put my phone on mute because it's making all sorts of noises here. I was actually in a band with my brother a while ago, and then when that band didn't work out, he moved to the UK. And they started recording with Justin. And then he said to me, "Dude, you need to check this guy out. His band is so cool." And obviously, Sixth is incredible. So I've used them a few times, but for On Display, it's cool to have cool content to give him. In the past we weren't so happy with the songs that we were, not me and Greg, in past bands. They weren't as I felt energetic. So it was nice to give him something that I was really proud of. I'm super happy with the way it came out.
Yeah.
And I think just to expand on that, it's, just leveraging of what Ryan's saying, it's a big thing for us to send the stuff overseas. Obviously our currency is on the downside. So sending a project off to get mixed and mastered overseas is quite an expensive project for us. So we need to be 100% sure of what we're sending before we send it. I mean, I think Ryan can agree. We've got folders and folders of demos, tracks, and ideas, but it's really just about investing in the right ones.
Definitely.
It's probably an impossible question then, but how do you narrow it down? How do you know, right, this song here is good enough to be sent off, this one can stay back for a while?
I think
it's a feeling, eh?
Definitely a feeling. And that's also what's really cool about Greg and I is I've been in bands before where it gets kind of political. And then there's always like one guy sort of sulking and he wants it this way, he wants it that way. Whereas I feel the relationship between Greg and I, it's very diplomatic, and we're either both happy or we're not happy, and we kind of get to a point where we're like, it's working, then we know that it's going to be good. And I think we've also just got a lot of experience from playing in bands, and we know what works and what doesn't. And I think Greg's also had quite an adventure with bandmates and things like that. I've also had some crazy bandmates, people leaving and driving, storming off and things like that, because they don't get their way. So I think it's definitely quite a diplomatic approach, and it's a good relationship. And having two people in the band helps a lot. I think sometimes too many cooks spoil the broth as well. It can get quite political.
Yeah. I actually couldn't agree more with that. I think one of the biggest things for me is, I think Ryan and I, when we create something, we can feel that energy when we're writing it. I can feel straight away when I can see Ryan's like, he's not enjoying that suggestion, or the song's going down a different path, and then we kind of reel it back, and then we get on board again, and we get excited about what we're doing. So we kind of just feel our way through it, and I think that's what tells it at the end of the day when we're running through our songs, and we're playing all the songs, you can just feel it, and then you'll just get that one track that you're not feeling, and it kind of, takes a back seat, and then, we work from that. The songs that we enjoy making and enjoy playing.
Getcha. I getcha. And for any listeners who aren't familiar with you guys, how did you get together? What's the story behind On Display?
You want to take this online?
Yeah, so I mean, I started. I think it was just before lockdown. I was kind of bandless, and I need to be in a band just to be a happy person. So I was kind of bandless, and I started a solo side project. And I was trying to get people together. I was on Facebook and I was stalking people. I was typing in guitarist, bassist, and in South Africa, there's not a load of people. And then I saw on Facebook an ad with Greg saying some random girl was asking, she wants a drummer for some punk thing. I was like, oh,
That's
shit.
a local band, yeah.
Local bands. I was like, shit, I didn't think about Greg, So I sent him a message, and I sent him some of my demo stuff, and we just clicked immediately. And I mean, we've known each other for years and years, probably like 20, 25 years or something like that.
Yeah.
So we just clicked immediately, and, he really dug the stuff I was sending him. And it actually started off kind of more rock, sort of radio friendly, Foo Fighter-ish sort of stuff. And we did that for a while, and we had some band members. We had a 4-band lineup, and the one guy was very young. I was picking him up and bringing him to practice, and you didn't have all the equipment. And then the other guy was a very good bass player. Also used to jam with Greg, and he ended up immigrating to the UK. And then at that point, we were like, shoot, what are we doing? What are we going to do? And we just started experimenting with the heavy stuff. And I didn't even know that Greg liked the heavy stuff, because he played in a lot of punk rock bands. So he started showing me music that I hadn't heard, like Bad Omens and Icy Stars. And I was like, geez, bro, we're like literally on the same page here. So I bought a 7-string guitar, and that's literally where Stuck started. It was like one of our first riffs we came up with.
I think that's what it was. I think when Ryan first contacted me, I thought I was just standing in as like a session drummer to work on some of the tracks he had, and then quite quickly we started figuring out that we had similar bands, that we were both very influenced by bands like Deftones, System of a Down, those good old school bands. And I think once we realized that we were both on the same page and we actually preferred the heavier side of life, that's just when things started falling together, and kind of it just gelled and just been going from there. And we've got some really exciting stuff in the pipeline at the moment.
Right. I have to ask, whenever I speak to bands, especially in South Africa, their drummer is normally in like 10 other bands. How many bands are you in?
I try and keep it to one. So I do jam a little bit with some family members. We do a lot of acoustic stuff, but that's more just for family event stuff. But I'm 100% committed to On Display. I'm one of those one band drummers. Ryan and I think being in a band it's a big commitment, and especially if you want it to work, it's spreading yourself too thin or trying to play in too many bands I just don't think it wouldn't be a healthy situation for me. So for me, I'm 100% committed to On Display. I love what we're doing. It fills my creative cup. So no, I'm good. I'm good.
Good to hear. And I suppose at this stage we'll dive a bit into your histories when it comes to music, to give the listeners a sense of where you come from. So if you can you remember your earliest musical memory?
Yeah, all right. I'll jump in there quickly. I think that I used to work at a nursery when I was young. I think when I was like a little teenager trying to earn some pocket money, and there were 2 guys that worked at this coffee shop at this nursery with me. And they were going on for weeks about this band that they were starting, and the biggest problem was they couldn't find a drummer, and I happened to just be standing next to them when they were talking about it, and I said, well, I'll play drums. And the guys were like, have you played drums before? And I was like, no, but I mean, how hard can it be? Unbeknown to me. But I found a cheap kit from a guy that I knew that was pretty much throwing it away. So I took what little bit of money I had, and I tried to get that kit going. I had no idea about tuning a kit. I mean, I think the first time we played, I didn't even have the snare drum in the right place. I was kind of being schooled the whole way through. And I remember we played at that nursery in a little daisy hut. And I think from the minute I hit that first drum note, which was completely out of tune, I just knew that this is this is the path I want to go. And it's just kind of never looked back from there, and just a matter of, teaching myself and learning from there. And I think Ryan's also been doing it. I mean, I think he was born with a guitar in his hands.
Yeah, I think the earliest memory I have is we used to have a little recorder lying around at my parents' house. I don't know if you know what a recorder is. It's basically a flute with, it's a flute with some piano keys on it. So, so I mean, I obviously enjoyed music and things like that. I was such a soft kid. I remember my brother bringing home Nirvana Unplugged, and I told my mom, we can't listen to this. It's heavy and it's got swearing. You can't listen to this. I was such a soft little kid. And it's amazing how quickly from there I was just, listened to the Bleach album, and I was like, wow, this is incredible. But I remember picking up this recorder and I was like, I wonder if I can do this. Let me just think of a song and see if I can play the tune on it. And I think it was like, I remember it was like a nursery rhyme, and I was like, oh, it goes like twinkle, twinkle. And then I was like, did it. I was like, okay, cool. I must have some kind of ear for this music thing. And then, my dad used to have a guitar as well. And he didn't let me use it. So I used to sneak in and grab it. And I think I even snapped a few strings there. But from there, it ignited. And I bought my first guitar. I still got the very first guitar I bought. And even with vocals, I used to be a little stubborn with singing. I used to say, I don't need lessons. I'm born with this natural talent. And I used to, sing away and things like that. And I used to try like emulate Kurt Cobain a little bit. And later on, I realized, that there's actually a lot to this, and there's a science to singing. And I started doing vocal lessons and also teaching myself a lot of things and breathing techniques. And it's just it's kept me going. Like especially with work and things like that. I don't know how I would have managed if I didn't have music. So I love music.
Yeah. And growing up then, what was your local music scene like, and how does it compare to today? Has it changed much over the years?
I mean, we had a great scene, especially when we were a bit younger, in sort of those influential years. We had, I remember seeing Ryan at a lot of these shows. We had great bands like, again, Fuzzy Gish, Wonderboom, 16 Stitch. And these guys used to play all over the scene. I mean, we had rad little nightclubs in Melville here in Joburg. Roxy's nightclub was a massive musical venue. The scene, the local scene was pumping at one stage, and it's not that it's not pumping anymore. It's just it seems like it's more spread out than it always was. We always had more venues available, and one by one, a lot of those places have closed. We used to have a massive Doors nightclub, which was a weekly trip for us, and we often used to watch some of our favorite bands play there. But as it went, a lot of those places are closed, and now there's very few venues that are actually, I suppose, big enough to handle really good local music. I think there's a lot of people, pushing, trying to keep it alive here and grow the scene a bit, which is exactly what South African industry needs. We need to grow the music scene here a lot.
Another thing we also miss is there used to be a festival called Woodstock when we were kids. It was a little festival, and that was on such a large scale. I mean, there were hundreds of bands and obviously some international acts, and I mean, motocross bikes, and it was incredible. And I think the lady that started that, it was Authentic Ideas. They actually immigrated as well. So I think a lot of people have immigrated, and then obviously COVID has also like just done a big number on us as well.
Yeah. I think even that Kopi was a massive festival for South Africans. It was sort of a highlight of your calendar year. And I think, that just never revived after COVID.
Not only that, I think it's rated as one of the top 5 festivals in the world, if I'm not mistaken. Kopi, if I remember reading something like that. So it's also another thing that's just gone.
Yeah. That's crazy. How do you guys go about building a fan base then? Because normally you would go out, play gigs, let people see you, but when there's not that many venues, how do you approach it?
Actually, it's funny because it's such a contrast. It's like in the old days we would play these little gigs and make like $500 and save it, or buy guitar strings with it or whatever it is. Whereas now, with Greg and I, we are funding this thing, and I think that's, besides actually just having good music and really putting the time in and making sure that your songs hit home well. I think it's funding. Hey, I mean, we've spent so much money. I think Greg and I could have bought a little holiday home somewhere already. So I think that's kind of our first point of departure, is just making sure that it hits home and that it's at a high level and a high quality. And then we're not, I mean, suffice to say, we're not really focusing on South Africa as a whole. I mean, obviously we want fans here, but we're trying to like sort of get on par with overseas bands, and it's like a different market, I think. And
I think it also, sorry, Ryan. I think it also just backs off what we said earlier. Ryan and I have been doing gigs since we were 13, 14 years old, playing in bands and stuff like that. So I think we've done a lot of those, and we're in a space now where we are enjoying the recording and the creating process, and we are really enjoying the content creation side of it. So like with the music videos and things like that. And we've got 2 killer music videos lined up that we're releasing in the next couple of months. And I think we're leveraging off that. We're trying. I mean, the beautiful thing about today's day and age is you've got social media, you've got your YouTube channels, and you've got so much interaction. And I think what we're really enjoying about it is we sort of getting feedback from the people that we want to tap into. With certain Facebook groups and certain community pages, our music is getting a lot of traction in those groups, which is great because those are your music's landing in the playlists of the people that enjoy it. So I think we're building our fan base there. I think at some point we will tap back into the local market and try and build our local fan base as well. But right now, I think because our band is still in its early days, we definitely focusing on our content creation and getting the right kind of image and the right kind of music videos out there and getting our messages across.
And again, it's also we're just trying to pay the right people to help us as well. So like paying a good marketing manager or a good social media person, because especially being a 2-piece band and we've got jobs and families and and the music is already it takes a lot of time, so we don't really have time to do all the pushing and marketing. So it's just it's a self-financing hurricane.
Money pit.
And the podcast is called Concerts That Made Us, so I have to ask you guys, as a concert goer, what concerts do you think have made you?
Me personally, I've seen some amazing bands. I mean, I actually went in 2011. I went to a big concert in Belgium. We did a little road trip. It was called Grosse Rock Fest, and there was like 100 bands there. I mean, I saw all my all-time favorite bands. I mean, I suppose someone living in the States or anywhere in Europe, they're just like, oh yeah, I see those bands all the time. They play down the road. But I mean, for us, to see, I mean, I saw like Of Mice and Men, I saw August Burns Red. I've seen so many amazing bands. The Used, We Came as Romans. And then more recently as well, actually, I saw Enter Shikari for the second time in South Africa. They were here about a month ago. And that's also very inspiring. And they've got such a good live show. And it's nice to look up to guys like that.
And I think for me, it's we were mentioning now like we had those festivals like Opi Kopi, and they used to bring up some big names over here. And I mean, we had a lot of bands that have. I mean, it's not anybody's on all bands touring calendar to stop past Cape Town on their way. So when we have a big band that plays here, you make the effort to go. So I mean, we have had like Linkin Park, and I remember Cypress Hill and Prodigy. Those are all concerts or gigs that kind of blew my mind away. And even recently we had bands like well, not recently now, but Icy Stars popped by, and they had a Lekker tour here. But if I have to go back I always remember Opi Kopi brought out Sum 41 as the headlining act for one of the years. And I remember watching those guys, and they were just so incredibly tight in time. The energy was flowing. And I remember that was a big moment for me when I was like, I want to be on that stage one day. So, yeah, no, it's
Jeez, sounds like that was probably an epic gig. Jeez, I've always wanted to see those. They came to Dublin one time, like 10 years ago, and I missed it. I think they cancelled one or the other, but they've never come back.
Sucks.
Yeah,
I think they're kind of finishing up now.
Yeah, they're on their final tour or something, aren't they?
Yeah, I think that's the same thing as like South Africa. If you miss that band, it's very likely you'll never see them again in South Africa. I mean,
I missed Memphis May Fire.
Oh,
yeah. Oh man.
Oh, there's nothing worse than missing it. And when it comes time for you guys, I know it's down the line, but when it comes time for you guys to play shows, have you started thinking about what it's going to be like, what you'd like the stage show to be like?
Yeah, I mean, we spend a lot of time on our performance here in the jam studio. I think we've got a good idea of how we want our production to be. We use a lot of sampling pads, a lot of, even in the studio, a lot of lights and that kind of stuff. So we've done, Ryan and I have done one or two impromptu gigs on the way when we were still sort of figuring out our sound. And I think we've got a nice energy on stage, and we'd like to expand on that. But again, yeah, I think the first time we go out and officially hit that stage, it's going to be big. We're going to make it something special that, hopefully that we and our fans can, remember forever.
I think it also goes back to the financial thing. It's like, for instance, I've got too many guitars. I don't have kids. I've got guitars, and they're all in different tunings, and they've all got different amount of strings, and like every song's got a different guitar. So I mean, I have to pay someone to hand me my guitars. I mean, unless I'm picking up a guitar, putting it down, retuning it, putting a new strap on. I definitely need to pay someone to like hand me guitars. And then we want like some cool like displays on stage, with some cool content behind us, and definitely make it memorable.
Yeah.
I think what also works out well for us is Ryan and I are both in the sort of video and graphics industry. So a lot of the content we make is, we make it ourselves, and, with the help from our network of friends and stuff. But I think we've got a good idea of how we want to display even our graphics and our logos and our image. And I think we're fortunate there.
Sandy, you guys can do it yourselves. I have to ask, not to ask you which child is your favorite, but which guitar then, since you're like your children, which one is your go-to guitar?
Can't even tell you, man. I literally can't tell you. I do enjoy what I enjoy about my Solar guitar. It's got the Evertune bridge on it. So, I play in some weird tunings. I didn't even know what tunings I was playing in. I just kind of, when I was writing songs, I was kind of bending the strings as opposed to the chords. I was like, okay, let me change that string. And then I invented my own little systems. So what's nice about that Solar is it doesn't go out of tune, because it can be quite frustrating. And, you got to spend a lot of money updating bridges and upgrading pots and getting special strings. And in this country, it's like, you've got to import them all. So, every guitar for me, I love them all, but probably the one with the less tuning issues is going to be my favorite. It's enjoyable to play.
And, I know you guys haven't played gigs yet as on display, but out of the gigs that you've played in the past, is there one that sticks out as the best experience you've had?
Me personally, I was in a band called Bombs and Issues, and we did a tour that we called Your Mother City Tour. And we played a couple of gigs in Cape Town that are actually all closed down now. And that for me was amazing. I think the one was called Mercury. That was a really cool gig. I really enjoyed that. That was actually our final tour in that band. We had some politics after that, and but that for me was a pinnacle for me.
Nice.
Yeah. Mine was Tempos, Ryan. I don't know if you remember Tempos.
Oh yeah, that was great.
It was a massive outdoor venue. At that stage, it was like a big thing for a band to play there. And as we headlined a Jägermeister festival, and I remember walking out on that stage, and I was just blown away by the amount of people that came out to support, the lights, the whole venue was just mind blowing. They had an amazing sound technician. I think I still remember his name was Farid, I think it was. He was quite big on the scene at that stage. Yeah. And the sound was amazing, the stage was amazing, the crowd was amazing, and that for me was just like a highlight for me. I was like, I can tick that off the bucket list now. This is good. So that one always stick with me.
Not to get too negative now, but if you flip it around, is there one that is maybe the worst experience you've had, and how did you overcome it?
For me, it was our very first festival we ever played. I think we were like 3 months into our band, was super young. And I remember we were playing an outdoor festival out in Magaliesburg, which is also a really nice area in Joburg, which is outside of Joburg. And I remember getting on stage, and we were all set up to go. I was nervous as hell because it was, this outdoor festival, and we had all these people around. And they were trying to do a sound check, but the guy eventually came to me and he said, "Listen, man, there's a drum key. I think you need to tune that snare because it just sounds terrible." And I remember it was the most embarrassing thing ever, on stage, and you've got the sound guy coming to tell you to tune your snare because you just can't get a good sound. But I mean, these were like in the very beginning days when we were just saying yes to anything, which any reason just to make a noise in front of people. But yeah, that was definitely my worst experience.
I've got a good one. I remember one at Rumors. We did our sound check. Everything was great. And then all of a sudden, my guitarist comes running at me with his mic stand like this. And it's stuck to him. And he's like going, "Arr!" He's like running at me. So I figure out what's happening is he's getting electrocuted.
Oh my God.
So he's like running at me. And then I took the executive decision to grab the mic stand out of him, and then I got electrocuted. So we both got electrocuted by the volts of that whole sound system. But because he was running at me and I was going like that, it separated. And he went flying off the stage. And I think I actually saved his life. But geez, it was something, eh? That we didn't play the gig. That was it. We were like, okay, we're going home now. It was
I was just going to say,
mic.
was he an octave higher?
Oh man.
Yeah, it was a faulty mic.
Yeah. I'm not surprised you didn't play the gig. Did you go back to that venue? Were you a bit apprehensive about it?
No, we went back. In fact, I think I landed on my bass guitar case and it broke. So the owner he's a really good guy. He's kind of kept the scene going. And he kind of, he gave me a new bass case, and no, they're very cool. It was just, I mean, bad karma or something. I don't know what happened there.
Rumors was like the music staple for everybody, like everybody jammed at Rumors. The owner of Rumors he really held the scene together for a long time. I mean, even now they're still going, but we also had some fun gigs at that place.
Right. And when it comes to showtime, how do you guys warm up or psych yourselves up? And then afterwards, how do you wind down?
For me,
I think
go for it, Greg.
I was going to say, we psych ourselves up from the morning. I'll get a WhatsApp from Ryan with just like these hands up. He's like, "You ready to smash tonight?" And I'm like, "Yeah, man, I'm in. Let's do it." So we psych ourselves up. By the time we get to the jam room, we both like ready just to like smash things. I just want to kill those drums.
Especially because we're always working. So it's like when we finally get to do it, it's like, wow, thank God we finally get to jam.
Yeah. And then, we're very happy with our set. So we always start with warming up, going through our set, and by the time we've fully warmed up, I think we're just in such a good creative space. And then we normally from there start tackling a project that we're either working on, or we start a new project, or we're working on some covers, and, and then we just take it from there.
Sounds
I
good.
think I definitely do a lot of like I'll try just drink lots of water that day, and because the kind of vocals that we do, it's quite intensive, and you're screaming and singing, so you've definitely got to be healthy, and I try not to drink too much that day, and just do my vocal warm-ups, and
Hmm.
not stress out too much, because it can your anxiety can get the best of you sometimes.
True, true. And when you think about the future of the band, how would you like it to evolve? What would it look like in, say, 5 years' time?
I think for me, I haven't really thought too much where we're going to land up. I think at this point we're just really enjoying ourselves. That we're having such a good time making music, and like I said, we're really enjoying the music videos. That's kind of a space we're really enjoying. And I think for me, I'd like to get to a point where we have a lot of our music videos that we've got now in the pipeline all connect within like a series. So I think it's just telling our story, and in a couple of years' time, I'd like to look back and be like, we made really good content that we can be proud of, and we've got our message across. And hopefully along the way we can pick up a couple of fans that enjoy the music and can support us, and add a couple of our tracks to their playlist. I think that's, for me, that would be a winner. Having people enjoy your music, be proud of the content that we put out. Ryan and I are very strict on what we let people hear. We've got a very high sort of expectation of ourselves. So we want to look back and say, we did the best we can, and we enjoyed every moment of it going forward.
Yeah, I think for me, I would like to, it's like someone will write a song, and then someone's getting married, and then they'll say, "Oh, that's my song. I want it to be at my wedding." The minute someone says that's my song, then for me, that means that you've written a great song, and I want to have that in 5 years' time, where someone says that's my song, it's one of our songs, that it's meant so much to them that they can have it.
It's a good one now. I like that. Yeah. And before we dive into the last couple of questions, then, future plans that are set in stone. When can we expect more music videos? Lay it all out first.
Well, I think this month Ryan and I are releasing a project that we've been working on for a while. So we're launching our brand new song called Soothe, which is going to be accompanied by a lyric video as well. This song does have a full-on music video that we spent a couple of days shooting a few months back, and we are so excited to share it with people. But that will be releasing hopefully somewhere around the December timeline. And then we've got 2 or 3 other tracks that we're very proud of that will start making their way after Soothe. We've got a track called Dig that we're hoping to, is one of my personal favorites, Dig. This track we're hoping to release to the public in around sort of January and New Year, January, that kind of thing. And then we've also just completed a music video for that track, which is an absolute, I'm absolutely proud of that. I think it's something Ryan and I can be very proud of, and we're so excited to show people this. It's just we don't want to throw everything out at once, so we're trying to stagnate it a bit. But I'm just dying to press send right now on everything.
It's also cool is we've got. So go, Greg.
No. I was just going to touch on, Ryan and I have also, for every song that we've recorded, we've also done an acoustic version. It's just something that Ryan and I have just started. It's kind of something that just happened, where we've made an acoustic version of all the tracks that we've got in our arsenal at the moment, and those have accompanying videos as well. So those will also start coming out sort of towards the beginning of next year, together with, we've got the sort of hardcore tracks accompanied by the acoustic ones. So we're very excited about that.
That's what I was going to say as
well. plenty to look forward to. So, and we'll dive into the last few. So these are a couple of random odd music questions, but I'm intrigued to see your answers. So if you could see any performer from history in concert for one night only, who would it be?
Wow, that's a loaded question. Man, I think for me, like, if I had to go back, I think music that connected heavy with me was definitely Deftones. Yeah, I think I'd love to. I mean, I never got to watch them live. I think if I had to go back, Deftones would be a winner for me all day, any day, in the past, present, future.
It's a good
I
one.
saw them actually at I think it was Ramfest or Oppikoppi. I saw them. That was incredible.
Oh,
Yeah, I missed that.
I had greenies though. I was walking around drinking vodka the whole day, and then I decided to smoke a joint. And I think I missed the first like half an hour of their set. I mean, I heard it, but I wasn't there, you know. But the rest of what I saw was incredible. But if I had to go back, I'd say, I mean, just from a vocalist point of view, I think Freddie Mercury is just an incredible vocalist, and his stage presence. I think, you know, just watching that little documentary that they came out with, that was inspiring as it is. But I think if I had to watch him live, watch that band live, it would be very inspiring.
Without a doubt.
Nirvana, I mean, that's I know Ryan would definitely go back for that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Goes without saying.
Definitely.
And here's where the odd part comes in. If you had to spend 24 hours locked inside a room with any musician from history, who would you pick?
I think I'd choose Jim Morrison.
A man after my own heart. I'd pick him as well. Be a bit dangerous though.
Oh yeah. Well, it just depends if he's got anything on him there.
Yeah.
Got some trip there, man.
I think I'd dig to hang out. I mean, even in present day, I think I'd really dig to hang out with Dave Grohl.
Yeah.
I think that could be a legend's hangout. You know, I don't mind being stuck in a room with him.
Could you imagine the stories he'd have?
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing.
It's the closest you're going to get to Kurt Cobain as well.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
And,
also immensely talented.
Yeah. And the final one, so this is near impossible to answer, but what song would appear on the soundtrack to your life?
Oh, that's easy for me because I've already got one.
Okay.
For me, it's NoFX, Punk Guy.
Right. What is it about that one that sticks out to you?
I don't know. It's just, I think it describes me pretty well. It's about a computer programmer, and he's just living a jolly life. And, you know, I suppose he's taken advantage of and things like that. You know, I've definitely learned some lessons in life. But it's such a jolly song that, you know, it's just life is great. So I think for me, that's my soundtrack.
I like it. End on a high note.
For me, geez, there's so many. I was a big Limp Bizkit fan back in the day. I'd have to go with something like one of those old school bangers like My Generation. Those ones always, they'll never leave my playlist.
Like it. Listen, guys, it's been a blast now. I've really enjoyed getting some insights into your music. Thanks a million.
Thank you, man.
Thanks so much for having us, man.
Welcome to the podcast, conscience that made us. Interviews and stories, tales from the bus. We love taking you back to when it all went down. The greatest live shows and that cheering crowd sound. It's concerts that made us, concerts that made us.com.